There's a lot of people that like to do stuff as cheap as possible. Me personally, I like to try to do stuff as free as possible. Example, this rack here was given to me for free by a friend. I don't know if it was off a four-wheeler, a truck, I have no idea. But here's how I went about attaching it to my truck for free. So, first thing I did was I just measured my roof, side to side, front to back. That way I can figure out where the center of it is. Go ahead and get a center line down the center and the middle. That way I was able to then measure my ramp. And I was able to place, I marked lines where the center of my rack is, line them up with the center of my base. That way I could center the rack. And I'm attaching it with the hardware that came with it. I don't really know what it was used for or kind of how, but the way I'm doing it is went ahead and I laid these out. I marked it, which before I started laying those out and mark it, you can see I put myself some little random spots of chalk. That is just to make sure it's there where I want it. That way, as I was moving around doing all this, if I was to knock it around, I would be able to notice where they're all moved and squish it back. But I basically just set that there, marked around it so it wouldn't move. Then I held it there, and I put this right there, and then I put chalk on it. That way I could remove it all. I did my little tap, actually with a piece of tungsten, sharp tungsten, just hit it with a hammer. Made myself a little pilot point. Then I just drilled right on through. I already know where the holes are coming out inside my truck, so holes just poke down through the headliner. And all I'm going to do is run this up from the inside, which is just going to go on top of it. You'll see that later. And it'll just hold it down. But pretty much that simple. Now I just got to clean everything up, because whenever I run this up through, the first thing I'm going to do, because I do not want it to rain inside my truck when it rains outside, is I cut some of these little rubber gaskets. That way, when this pokes up, the very first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to put that rubber gasket on top of it. Then I'm going to put a locking nut down onto it. So the locking nut will be squished down onto that with studs sticking up through. And I'm also going to squirt some either black or blue RTV sealant. Basically, it's just whatever I have. I like the blue because it would match my truck, but I mean, who the hell am I showing off for? The airplanes? So, yeah, I'm going to squirt some of that all in there. I'm going to clean it with acetone and stuff to make sure there ain't no grit or oil or anything, because I did have some oil residue on my rack. I want to make sure none of that's on the hood or on my roof whenever I put that on. And if you're wondering what I got my little rubber gaskets from, what I made them from, is we had an old junk car. So I got some of this stuff, which is the stuff like between your radiator and your grill. I don't know if y'all can see. Yeah, we're gonna turn the light on. But it's just that little flappy rubber stuff. I mean, this stuff's been on my truck forever. And I'm sure it's waterproof, but it definitely has not degraded or disintegrated, eroded away, dry rotted and broken down. So, yeah. Feels like rubber. It's got some fiber in it. Like, it's hard to rip, but it will rip. But this stuff squished down with some Permatex in between it should make a nice little waterproof barrier. And we had this old junk microwave just chilling around, junk pile, and I noticed I like that. It ain't the thickest stuff in the world, but I guess it don't necessarily have to be. It'll do the job, and it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Hopefully. And I figured out, just trying to make it simple on myself. It's already got kind of like the little beveled edges, so I'm going to bend those over, so it ain't just going to be a sharp, jagged edge whenever it's on my ceiling. But, yeah. And I figure I can make that work somehow. Yeah, it'll look better when I'm done. I'm sure it will. So, time to chop chop. And the reason for the microwave parts or extra metal, whatever, is I will demonstrate my thought process with this piece of paper. Is whenever they're coming up through my hood like that, I'm going to have the microwave pieces on this side, just because of right there where it bends. Because I'm going to put ratchet straps on top of that son of a bitch and all kinds of stuff. Put some force on it, pulling it basically up to the roof. And where that thing bends, I don't want it to come up. So look at this. And that right there. I don't want that rip to be on my roof in the middle. So I'm going to be putting more right there. So if it does rip, all of this would have to rip up at the same time. That's just my thought process. But I'm not a safety channel, but I feel like I need to tell you, don't just take the angle grinder and just freshly cut into a microwave. You never know what's on the inside. I mean, I might have done it, but you shouldn't. You see stuff like that, capacitors. What else is in there? Oh yeah, the magnetron. Yeah. Yeah, I think they came out pretty decent. And they're all safety crimped over on all four sides. So don't gotta worry about no one putting their hands up there and cutting themselves. It's all nice and round. Well, we'll see what it looks like whenever I try to put this through it. And yes, I know that I just didn't feel like cutting more material off the microwave. That's more angles and shit, so I just cut off the one side. I didn't feel like having to go over and then rebend and stuff, so I'll figure it out. You'll see. Okay, coming along like I thought it would. Basically, I'm just taking it. I put my little microwave pieces on it. That's the one for the already tightened all the way up on that one. But I just slide that plate up there, then I push my studs up through it. They come up, and all I'm really doing, just a little bit of acetone on a rag. I just wipe up the spot real quick. I make sure I wipe down my little gasket, sealer, rubber piece, whatever you want to call it. And I just squirt myself a little bit of what I had is black till I got left, but it should be enough for the job. Black RTV, smear it all on this. Then this is going to slide down, RTV down of course, onto that. Take myself a washer, put it on. I got a locking nut, and I wrench that bad boy all the way down. Actually, once I push this down with the RTV on there, push it all the way down, then I smear a little bit more RTV right around on top of that right there. Then I put my washer on it, and then snug it down. Okay, well, I finished it up last night, and I basically didn't have any RTV sealant left to do another job. So I kind of just ripped open the bottle and used the rest of it to just kind of glob over just the entire area, just between the nut and the washer and my rubbery piece, and my truck. So yeah, and it's a locking nut, so it's already got its own little rubber seal in there, so these should not leak. But anyways, those are the pieces, and I definitely tighten those suckers down. Like, yeah, that's a nice little piece of metal there, so I don't have to worry about this trying to rip itself up through my roof, because it'd have to pull this whole sheet of metal up through it too. Yeah, that thing ain't budging, because when I was tightening it down, it was like flexing the roof. Now it can't even flex. I guess next up, put the rack on. Okay, well, everything's been coming along just awesome. So you know what that means. Something wasn't going right. Well, figure that out at this stage, because this is a little bracket that's going to hold the thing down. Got the little screws, nuts, whatever you want to call them. And those are going to tighten down to hold these bars down. But as you see, it's not going to tighten down. Plus, it doesn't matter anyways because I do not want this on my roof. I want not only air movement underneath, but also so I can put hooks on this with straps. So if something's right here, not taking up the whole thing, I can put a hook underneath that and strap it. So, back to the old drawing board. Because it's looking like I'm going to need some way to hold this thing up. And then this thing can tighten down. So fun. I gotta figure out how to do that, and I ain't going to the store for it. I'll figure it out. Okay, I had some angle iron left laying around. Cut them into flat bars. Notch myself some fancy little grooves. I'll show you what them is supposed to do. Okay. I cut these out to where they fit just inside of that thing. And the little grooves, of course, catch onto the bars. And that, my bad, yeah, is going to push up while the top piece pulls down. Just where my fingers are right now, I need to add something that's actually going to push this up. See, I'll figure that out too. Old rusty nuts and bolts. Plenty of those always laying around. And, whew, after a lot of wire wheeling, they don't look so bad. Yeah. Now, my idea is I'm just going to hurry up and put these on real quick. Okay. But my idea is I'm going to sorry, I'm not good at holding the camera and doing all this at the same time. But I'm going to weld the bolts to the flat bar. See, it's holding itself up. Sorry about the lights glaring, but there we go. Now it's not sitting on my truck hood or truck cab. It's a little cockeyed just because there's nothing on the front side. But, yes, that is the gist of it. Weld those up to there. That way, this can go down. Tighten it down. And just because my truck cab is not perfectly flat, that's why I'm using the nuts on there. That way I can loosen them up, tighten them up, whatever, to extend those. So it's not just like putting in a solid bar and then hoping that it's the perfect size. Because if I tighten these down, and then there's still a little bit of play, that's going to suck. But now, if there's a little bit of play, I can just loosen that up, and it'll push the thing up and be tight. And I'm probably going to put 2 nuts on each bolt. That way, whenever I push the bottom bolt down to the perfect size that I want it, then the second bolt, or the second nut, I can tighten down on top of it. Double nut it. That way it'll be nice and tight. And then once I'm happy with it and it drives and everything's doing right, then I'll just throw some Loctite on them. And that'll be that. And I do want to probably make something. I'm going to weld probably like a little bolt or something on top that's going to be shaped down into the shape of a square. Just a little like quarter inch tall, whatever. Just enough to where whenever I slide this on, it'll fit right in there and be flush. Because whenever I tighten all these things down, and it's ready to have cargo stuck on top, I don't want nothing above my bars. Of course, everything ain't flush and level yet, but that little tip right there, I'm going to shave that off. I want this to be the very tippity top of stuff. Flush. That way, if I wanted to, I could put a pane of glass up in here. Yeah, that'll never happen, but you get the concept. But also noticing something is these nuts, which of course, you know, I got the U-bar going underneath inside my truck cab, so it's nice and solid there. That's what they're sitting on. But I still don't just want these two nuts just, that'd be it, screwing against my truck cab, scratching up the paint. And plus also I feel like they need a bigger foot. We got that whole big solid bar underneath. I need to be able to use as much as possible. I'll figure that out. Alright, don't have a clue what this thing was. It was in the scrap pile. But it just kind of just so happened it looked like it was the perfect size for just what I needed. So choppity choppity chop chop chop. And this is going to go on my truck. And then the bolts are going to go inside of it. Okay, got them all welded up there. And I went ahead and made them look a little pretty. I primed them with some cold galvanizing compound. And then just because of the Mississippi heat, just why not? High heat. Paint them black, match everything. Make sure that paint won't get too hot. You know, it's going to be just sitting in the sun all day. And it also kind of helps out because I'm in a rush. So I used a little heat gun to help them dry. We'll see if that works out. Let's put them up there and see what it looks like. And I did the same thing with the galvanizing compound and the high heat. And even the same little box. You know, went ahead and hit all my little studs, you know, just in case. They were used, all kind of rusted, kind of hitting away a little bit in some spots. So they're still good, but let's keep them good. Don't want them to rust away anymore. All I did was just put a little hole in the box. Boom. Paint. So I didn't just paint my entire roof. Alright, she's finally coming together, y'all. I got it all centered up. We're supposed to be so it ain't all cockeyed and stuff. I have it leveled out to where it's just barely aerodynamic. See? Yeah. I've already got the right spacing screwed on down to where they're supposed to be at in there. Double nut it, nice and tight with a wrench. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Set this down inside of there. Turn this so my little grooves that I made catch these bars. The other three are already tightened down, so a little hard to do with one hand. There we go. I'm gonna make sure that my my supports are going to line up with the cross member up underneath it. Bring that forward some. Which it kind of helps me show whenever I put that on. I just kind of make sure everything's nice and in line with each other. Ain't nothing gapped over. And it's pretty much just that simple. Yeah. Kind of just fell together in 30 minutes. The whole thing did, I swear. Let's make sure I tighten these down nice and evenly. Then I'm still going to probably weld a little square stud on top of that so it fits up in there. So this ain't technically just only held on with pressure. And when I grind these studs down, see how they're sticking up over there? I don't like that. Grind those down flush, and I'll probably tighten these down nice and tight and just put in a little bit of silicone just so water don't be sitting inside there. I mean, we already know even if it comes down through, that's nice and waterproof. Ain't no water getting in my cab, but still don't want that to prematurely rust out my bolt. I want to go through, and just kind of like whenever you're tightening down a tire, just tighten it down, tighten it down, tighten it down, until everything's nice and snug. Whew, that was a lot of wrench turning, or vice grip turning to tighten all these things down. But, you see how they're flexed down? Not a lot, but just enough to where you know they tight. And now we got to give it a test to make sure that it's street legal. Yep. It didn't budge. That's street legal. What? Chevy Silverado with a roof rack. Oh, I like that. I think I might need to install some lights up on top of there. Put a big old light bar up on that thing. Yep, for her maiden voyage, about an hour on the interstate, hitting at least 80 for a while. Then turned off onto some back roads, went over railroad tracks, plenty of bumps in the road, potholes, and to my surprise, I didn't hear that roof flex one single time. Nothing happened, and ain't nothing going anywhere. I'm happy with that. Think I'm gonna put some Loctite on those nuts, silicone on top of them, call it a day. I like it. Well, if you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and smash that thumbs up. God bless.